Yeah. Okay.
Alright, so welcome to the first episode of GW Williams Music Interviews. Today, we have here Colin Clarke, acclaimed guest conductor, founder of the Toronto Youth Wind Orchestra, and with so many more accomplishments. How are you, Colin?
I'm great. How are you, sir?
I'm doing amazing.
Excellent.
I'm completely in awe. You're like my hero. Right
Oh, God. You need to get out more.
So, alright, so I want to get right into the questions.
Sure.
So, first I want to ask you about your experience with founding the Toronto Youth Wind Orchestra, because the Toronto Youth Wind Orchestra now is almost more than 30 years old.
34 years old.
And you founded this massive organization, I believe, when you were in high school, right?
That is correct.
So,
yes.
Can you tell us about what that experience was like?
Well, first of all, I used to play in the Toronto Symphony Youth Orchestra. This is an orchestra attached to the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, and it's just a fantastic program that brings the best string, wind, brass, and percussion players together to play exceptional music. And at that point in my life, I was playing in my high school concert band. I thought, if there could be a high-level symphony orchestra out there, why can't there be a high-level wind ensemble out there? So that was kind of the genesis behind the Toronto Youth Wind Orchestra. I got a whole bunch of my friends get together, give them some pretty challenging music. I hired a conductor to conduct the ensemble, and that was the beginnings of it. How did it feel? It was a lot of work. We sounded horrible the first year, but you know, tenacity just got better and better, kept working on it, and I'm glad we kept stuck to it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, speaking as a musician who has worked with you a couple times before and has listened to your ensembles.
You're fun to work with, by the way.
Thank you.
IMC, Wind Orchestra, here.
That's me. Thank you very much. That means a lot to me. And just speaking as a musician who has worked with you, I just really wanted to ask you about what is your process for choosing repertoire, because every time I play in a band that you conduct, it's you choose the best repertoire that is the perfect stuff for the ensemble, and I'm just wow, that's amazing.
I mean, okay, my process for picking repertoire is quite selfish, really. I pick music that brings me joy, that makes me happy, that makes me excited, that challenges me. I try to pick music that I haven't conducted before and try to give myself that kind of challenge, and then see how I can incorporate that into my ensemble program, with my orchestra, my wind ensemble. So, for example, in our last program with Taiwo, we put some repertoire in there that just made me excited, and I imagine my ensemble playing this. I think they'll enjoy this piece, I think they'll enjoy that piece, I think this will give them a good challenge. So I think my first point when I pick repertoire is that this does excite me, because I can't sell bad music. If I'm working on it with an orchestra and it's a bad piece of music, a part of me has to go into the music so I can sell it to the musicians, if you will. I put myself into the music, and if I can't, then I won't. So I try to find the music that excites me, that brings me joy. So that's the first step, and then the rest of it is all mechanical, making sure the instrumentation's there, making sure the players are there, that we have the time in the program, etc., etc.
Would you say knowing the ensemble and what repertoire they would enjoy and would fit them is a key part of choosing repertoire for them?
I guess it should be. It's a great question, and the answer, of course, is yes. I have to consider the musicians who are playing the music, and that's no different from your conductor here at Williams, IMC, the conductors at camp. Try to find music that'll be good for the musicians and music that the musicians will enjoy, and that's an important thing as well, because I find if you have music that the kids don't enjoy. Sorry for calling you kids, but anyone under 35 is a kid to me. So if you give music that the musicians struggle with, that they don't like, that's neither here nor there for me, because I programmed it for a reason. But you can tell the things that the musicians do like, because it seems easier, it comes naturally to them, and that's always exciting. So when you say I pick repertoire that's great every single time, that is a huge compliment to me. I appreciate that. But there is a bit of ebb and flow to make sure that I find some joy and some enthusiasm in the music, but also make sure there's something for the musicians as well.
That's amazing. I think picking repertoire is crazy hard.
It's crazy hard, but it's so much fun. Especially when it clicks, it's so much fun.
So I want to ask you about your experience of going from a percussionist, at the very back of the ensemble, to becoming a conductor. Because from what I've heard, it's you sort of fell into this position.
I fell butt backwards in this position. Yes, I was years ago a percussionist. I was studying actually percussion performance at U of T. I developed severe tendonitis, and I had to stop playing at all. I was practicing hours at a time. I loved playing the marimba, and it just got to the point where my forearms just couldn't take it anymore. So I knew then that if I tried to pursue a career as a professional percussionist, that I would be stopped by my own just my own shortcomings, medically speaking. I fell into the position of conductor because when I started the wind orchestra, I actually had another conductor who was the first and principal conductor of the wind orchestra. His name was Bramwell Smith, and he was a great man. He taught at York University, world-class cornet player, did a lot of things with American military bands and whatnot. He passed away about 3 months after we started the program. And when he passed away, I didn't want the program to die. So I started, because I couldn't play percussion anyway, I started conducting almost unwillingly because I didn't want the program to die. And then after a while, I was starting to enjoy doing what I was doing. My intention was to find someone else to conduct the ensemble. I couldn't find anybody. So I just did it myself. And there's something that says, there's a phrase out there, you don't choose your career chooses you. And I had every intention of going to be, a percussionist, to play with the Toronto Symphony. That was my goal. Suddenly I found myself standing in front of an ensemble, conducting symphonic works with bands and orchestras and choirs, and I couldn't be happier. I'm so glad that happened to me because this is my happy place.
That's amazing. That's a crazy experience.
Thank you.
So we're almost out of time.
Oh,
you have a rehearsal after this? It's from what I heard. But so I'm gonna move on to our last question.
Sure.
And this is basically for like the musicians and anyone in music at our school. What's your biggest piece of advice for someone who wants to keep music in their life, whether they become a musician or not, but they just want to keep music in their life, finding the opportunities to play music and staying motivated to practice?
That's funny because the answer's in your question. How do you keep music in your life? Keep music in your life. Find opportunities to play. I know a lot of people who, for example, go to certain schools where they want to go into, say, engineering or medicine or health sciences, but they know there's a band on campus, there's an orchestra that does things, that accepts players, whatnot, I know there's several schools in Ontario, I'm sure all across Canada, that have programs, local programs that you can join on campus. Hart House at U of T, University of Guelph, McMaster, Western. Any university has that sort of thing. I would argue that it's important to keep music in your life, whether you be a musician or not, because for someone like yourself, for example, I'm not sure if you're going to do music or not, but it would be a shame for someone of your talent to not keep making music. I'm not saying going into music to be a musician, although that'd be cool too. But you spent so many years in middle school, then in high school, then in Taiwo and IMC, and you're honing this craft that so few people in the world can do. When we think about how many musicians are in the world when you talk the global population, it's a small percentage of people who actually play musical instruments. So it's a gift to yourself to find a way to not only hone your skills but continue doing what you're doing, whether it's singing in a choir or playing in a pickup band or doing jazz band with a local ensemble, playing in a community orchestra, whatever. I think there's always ways to find music in your life. And for the brief time that I taught at McMaster University, I was surprised at how many people in my orchestra were not music students. They were health sciences or economics or commerce or whatever else, because they knew they need to have music in their life in some way, shape, or form. They didn't need the course, they didn't need the orchestra, but they wanted to play. And I think that makes us all just better musicians all around it, all better human beings all around. So music is for life. I know it sounds cliche, but music is for life. So I would just take your advice. Find a way to keep music in your life no matter what it is.
That's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your boundless wisdom.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My absolute pleasure, man. Good to chat with you.
Thank you for this interview.
Of course.
Hope you have a nice rest of your day.
And you too.